to cancel culture, hookup culture, or victim culture?
Well, neither could we. We created this platform for those other girls. Girls like us who want to give a different perspective from a Christian and conservative worldview.
We talk about life, work, relationships, pop culture, and everything in between. So let's be those other girls that just don't talk about culture,
but change culture.
Hello, everyone. You're listening to Those Are the Girls with Mowry and Friends. I'm Mowry.
And I'm Freeman.
And we are changing culture and bringing back traditional values. Hello, everyone. Welcome to your new favorite podcast. Ooh, sorry, I said that real weird. Welcome to your new favorite podcast. And we talk a lot of pop culture. We talk a lot about faith, and we talk a lot about femininity. Mm-hmm. This is a podcast where you're going to get a mixed bag. Even though today is a very, very pop culture episode. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty pop culture. Now that I'm like looking at the docket again. So it's a fabulous one. This will be great. Escapism. A lot of things are going on right now that we feel as if our role is to give you guys some good entertainment for that, some good escapism. This is something you're going to want to send to your friends. So go ahead and send it over to your friend. She's going to love it. Freeman, how are you?
Things are great. I just got back from a yoga class, which was really, really fun. It was with Burn Boot Camp, actually. Not that that's my only personality trait these days. Yeah, I did that. Andy was in Berlin for the weekend with his dad, so it's good to have him back. I seem to have a lot of fun, did a lot of soul searching, which is always good.
So cute.
He is trying to catch up on sleep. And I've been working, just making money, trying to keep up. With the colder weather, it's been a lot better money. So I'm very grateful for that.
Really? I guess because people want to be inside now?
Yeah, and I guess like maybe because pizza and pasta is like cool, kind of like, and wine, you know, like it's like kind of romantic and snuggly.
Oh, okay, yeah, cute.
Okay, how are you?
I'm good. Last weekend we had our fall meetup at the Hall Family Farm, so that was really fun. If you did not come, you missed out. You should definitely come to our next meetup. I was actually today looking at Airbnbs for DC, possibly March for Life weekend, possibly, we'll see. And I was going to Airbnb for that. So if that's something anybody would be interested in, let me know. And then for Valentine's Day, I already have an idea of like where we could go, what we could do. So there's a lot of meetups. That is just another tenet of Those Are the Girls. We really do want to have fun meetups where we as girls, Christian women, can come together and we can chat and we can enjoy ourselves. And the best part is we have to dress up just for whatever occasion it is. So yeah, and then I also, what else have I done this week? Oh, pretty sure that's it. What did I do Sunday? Church. Oh, I am, for those who like to write, if you've been listening for a long time, you know that I am writing a fantasy novel, and November's coming up, so that is NaNoWriMo, and which stands for National Writing Month, and this year I'm going to take it very seriously. So I've been working on, I've been going back and forth whether I was going to start a new project or just continue the one I'm working on. I think I'm going to continue the one I'm working on. So I've been like kind of organizing that. The 1 year I actually did it, so I've been doing it since high school, but I'm gonna be honest, I get to November 10th and I'm like, oh gosh, this is a lot, and I quit. 1 year I actually went all the way to the end. I don't think I've ever gotten to 50,000 words. The plan is you gotta write 50,000 words.
Oh my gosh.
I've never gotten to 50,000 words before. My goal is to get to 50,000 words, but more than anything, my goal is to write every single day. Mm-hmm. So the one time I did write every single day, it was when I planned ahead of time. So that's what I've been doing this week, and I'll probably be doing a lot of that this weekend too, is like planning ahead of time. So
Mallory, 50,000 words is a book.
Yes. So the idea is like, I guess, to write the first draft of your novel.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's over 1,000 words a day.
Say that again?
That's over 1,000 words a day.
Yeah, you got to write a lot. That's why it's better to. So the very first time I did it, I started it. One of my friends told me about it in. Okay, quick story. In middle school, so I have been a creative writer type person, and it's like just an FYI. Sometimes I've said, "Oh yeah, I like to write." People are like, "Oh, you write like self help or poetry?" No, it's fantasy. So reality, most of you probably wouldn't want to read it, but I like that. I like creating new worlds and X, Y, and Z. So I've been doing this for a long time. So there used to be this website where it was called Ink Pop, and what you would do is, as a kid, I guess, pretty much, we're all kids, you would upload your story, and then everyone in the community on the website would review the story, and the top 5 stories that got like the most reviews and the most people voting, like, oh, this is really good, they were entered to possibly be published by HarperCollins. Now,
Wow.
and this went on for years. So I mean, I was doing, and the catch was, though, you have to review other people's stories. So honestly, looking back at that time, there are some amazing writers out there. I mean, we were all like in middle and high school that were writing. At least to me, I thought it was really good. So you're reviewing all these different people's stories and like, oh, this is really good. You should have, which is really great. So you were excited about the HarperCollins aspect of it all. But when I think about it, I do not think anyone ever was published by HarperCollins. I do remember, like, there was a top 5, and every month you would vote. Yeah, it was every month you would vote for the top 5, like how it was. But I don't think anybody got published by HarperCollins, because I guess realistically, I mean, how good were we? Like.
No. I'm sure you guys were really good. That sounds sketch that they didn't hold up their end of the deal.
Yeah, I don't think, like, I can't remember if any, and then it was bought by another company, and then it just went downhill from there. And then they didn't do the giveaway anymore either, or the contest anymore. So then it was like, oh, what's the point? So anyway, around that time was the first time I did NaNoWriMo, and I was just kind of like, oh, this is fun. Had no idea what I was gonna write. So like it's just so much harder if you don't plan it out. So I'm planning it out this year. So then immediately, so I also did this thing. My brother calls me Benjamin Franklin. I handwrite first. Everyone and their grandmother types it. I like to handwrite because, like, for example, if I'm somewhere and I have like extra time and I have an idea, or like I'm like, oh, this would be a good scene, I just pull out the notebook and like write it down. So I'm gonna try to kind of, but I will say, when I handwrite, like, so there's parts where like I just have an idea, I have to like write down a scene. So there might be like, I didn't think of what the color of something was, so I'll like leave a bracket, like figure out color. So then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna type. Hopefully I'll have it all handwritten out for the most part by the end of this month. And then I'm going to type. So then I'll still be writing, because there's parts that I've kind of like bracketed.
For sure. Right.
So that's what's been my doing. And I'm praying, like, my goal more than anything is to write every single day. That is what I have to do it somehow I have to write every single day.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Yeah, thanks. I'm excited.
That's awesome. Well, good for you. I am not going to be doing that, but that sounds really fun.
Yeah. You can at least write every day. Maybe if you want. You
Maybe.
Yeah.
That sounds so cool, though. Good for you.
Thank you. So hopefully a year from now, I mean, I'm not like trying to be like a big artist. Well, I'll always take fame, but I'm trying, like, my goal isn't like how the podcast, obviously I do want to impact people. It's just a fantasy novel, but I would like to have a copy of it one day in my hand. So hopefully by 30, that's my goal.
Wow, that is so cool.
Technically, I've been writing this. I mean, it's on the 3rd rewrite at this point, but technically, like, the characters and the world was set up in like 2016. Like, I've got to finish this one.
No, that's really cool. That's so cool.
Thank you. Are you ready to get into the stories?
Let's do it.
All right. Are you ready for some tea?
Oh, yeah.
All right, you guys. Transitioning. Did you hear about the Daily Wire? They announced they are going to do a live-action Snow White and the Evil Queen starring YouTube sensation Brett Cooper. The bombshell announcement comes alongside the release of the company's kids streaming app Bentke. Bentke? That's interesting. I didn't watch the announcement. But I did see the poster. Did you hear about that?
I did. And is this because they don't like that the Snow White is Latina?
I think so. And they
Oh
don't
my
like that she
gosh.
was mad about how she said that it's not going to be. I think we covered it. We either covered it or it might have been. I might
No,
have
we
covered it.
did. We did. I'm forgetting what it was.
We said Snow White and the projection dwarfs because I thought that was so funny. She was saying how like she wanted to do a story where Snow is not a like she doesn't get the prince, like something like that, something silly. Which
Yes.
I mean, it's children. Like, let her get the prince. Whatever. Who cares?
Right. She's too
I think
woke.
that's why. Which is I mean, I'm obviously going to watch it, so let me preference it by that. I definitely want to see it. I think that's really interesting. And I will, you know what? I had no idea Daily Wire had the money they had because the trailer, I'll link it, you guys. The
It looks
trailer is
really,
actually
really
like
professional.
really, yeah, it's professional. Because you know, like my parents, if it's Christian and it's actually like Christian, my parents, well, we gotta support. So they watch these. Oh my goodness, like you see the boom mic type movies.
Yes.
I don't know where they even get them. So my parents said, well, you know, we gotta change Hollywood, blah, blah, blah. You guys know boomer people. No offense if you guys are listening. And so honestly, that's what I was expecting. But I mean, and the other movies that they've done, so they've done like 3 or 4 other movies. I'm pretty sure most of them they just bought the rights to. They didn't actually like do them. Like it wasn't their production.
Oh, okay.
Or like they produce. It wasn't them. Like this is fully them. So it's like, wow, I'm impressed. I truly am. I'm interested to see it. I'm interested.
And hopefully the actress doesn't have an opinion on anything.
Well, of course she has whatever opinion Daily Wire pays her. Okay, anyway.
Oh my gosh.
No, I mean, she seems to be a nice girl. She just got engaged this week, too. So I'm like, wow, this is a big week for her.
No kidding.
Yeah. And that's really cool that they're able to, you know, they have the kids app and they're making cartoon shows. So I think that's as long as they are sticking principles, I think it's good to have a parallel economy, the parallel X, Y, and Z. As long as they're sticking with the principles and it's not, you know, and a couple things eventually are going to have to not be reactionary. But that's, you know, for the future. Did you hear about Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith? They actually have been separated since 2016.
Oof.
Yeah. I think everybody by now has heard about it, but we didn't talk about it last week, so I just really wanted to bring that up. I think that's crazy. That means that the slap meant nothing. That also means that the entanglement was useless. And it's weird. It's this thing that some celebrities do where they'll be like, they'll sit down. I'm going to be open and honest right now. ABC. And then a couple years later, that last time I was open, I can't even finish it. That last time I was open and honest, that wasn't the truth. This is the real me.
Yes. And
then a couple months later, or a couple years later, when I was filming XYZ, I was on drugs. I'm actually WLM. This is the real. And it's like, okay, enough. Enough. And that's how I feel she does. And you guys know I love this. Well, I love this girl's music. I don't love her as much anymore. Demi Lovato, she's a queen of that. I mean, that girl has had like 4 or 5 documentaries. And it's like, last documentary you swore you were sober, and then you're saying in this documentary that like during the documentary filming you weren't sober. It's the same energy of like, so now we don't trust you. In the video, I have to show you, I'll link the video for you guys. In the video, Hoda is like, you're a straight shooter. And she's like, yes. And then Hoda's like, but it looks like sometimes you're not. And she's like,
Yes.
And Jada's like, yes.
Oh, jeez. Oh, gosh.
Last one, which isn't a laughing matter, it's a rejoicing matter because Euron Vandersloot, he finally told Natalie Holloway's parents, what he did to her. So for those that don't know,
Season of Justice, right?
Season of Justice. Yes, I told you guys we're going to keep getting more. We're going to keep getting more. All of you listening, or I guess hopefully you're not listening, hopefully you're not a fan, but if you have committed a crime that was evil and awful, your time is coming. Your time is coming. This is a Season of Justice. After, I think I saw the press conference, the mom said it was 18 years. He finally
Oh
says
my
what happened.
gosh.
I'm going to give a
Can you
brief overview.
imagine?
I cannot even imagine. I'm going to give a brief overview.
I can't imagine.
Actually, Abby and I, for those who listen, we actually recorded an episode about Natalie Holloway for the True Crime podcast that we've been trying to start. So maybe I'll like release it as just a separate.
Yeah.
I might just release it on this thread so you guys can hear it. But a brief overview: Natalie Holloway and some of her classmates for their senior trip went to Aruba. So that tells you tells you a lot right there about
the scale that we're talking.
Yes. So they went to Aruba for their senior trip. And they all went out and, you know, all these kids, I think it was like 8 chaperones to like 50 kids or something like that.
Oh, geez.
Not enough
Oh, my
and
gosh.
obviously these are kids who, when you're a senior, you think you are the smartest, you think you're all together, you think...
Yeah, you're never gonna die. You're basically like Superman.
Literally. So they're out on the island. They wake up one day. Natalie's not there. Everybody's searching. They call the parents. The parents come to look to find her. They find out that the last person who saw her was Euron Vandersloot. And he was known on the island as like someone who's kind of like really sketch and everything. So the reason why he revealed it is because he got a plea deal because he extorted her parents. Said he was going to tell them.
I remember this.
Yes, he said he was going to tell them years ago, and then he actually lied. Well, also, he ended up murdering someone in Peru, so he's actually technically in jail right now for murdering another woman in Peru.
Oh my gosh.
And then once he's done with that, he's going to come and do another 20 years in the U.S. So,
Only 20?
What?
Only 20?
Well, he got the plea deal. So, he's not going to jail for murdering her. He's going to jail for extortion.
Oh my gosh.
Get in trouble, which, you know, at this point, like, I understand why I would make that deal too, because I would want to know where my child is and what happened to them. Either way, he had doing 23 years for the murder in Peru, and I cannot imagine how much fun he's having in jail in Peru. I mean, I'm sure it's awful.
Yeah, literally.
U.S. to do another 20 years. So, don't do the crime if you can't do the time. I have no sympathy for him. I'm so happy for the family. I just remember her mom just like, she really fought for Natalie. Like, I just remember she was always on everything. I remember when this happened, watching it with my grandma on Nancy Grace talked about it.
Nancy Grace.
And I remember watching Nancy Grace talk about it with my grandma. Like, it was a big thing, and her mom fought so hard. So I'm so glad that she has some closure. And she said this was the closure. She said this is what they needed. I don't want to say what happened because it's like really brutal, but I will link it so you can look it up. But he did admit it. At least, you know, he did admit it. And it's closure for the family, because that's what matters the most, is that they got closure. All right. Now we're going to get to our main stories. That was our segment, Did You Hear? Where we just talk about really quick some random things, because sometimes a lot happens in the week and you're like, I really want to talk about it. But then it's also like, what more can you say?
Because sometimes not mentioning it is like perceived as indifference or that we don't care, and that's not the case. It's just we don't have time.
Exactly. So that's the Did You Hear, for those of you new. Now, our main stories. I switched it up. I had another story first, but this has to be because this is breaking news. This came out the day before we made the docket, the day before we recorded. From People magazine. Britney Spears reveals she had an abortion because Justin Timberlake didn't want to be a father. The pop icon will release her memoir, The Woman in Me, on October 24th in her upcoming memoir. The woman in me, the pop icon 41, reveals that when she dated Justin Timberlake, she became pregnant with his baby, but had an abortion. People confirms. Quote, "It was a surprise, but for me, it wasn't a tragedy. I love Justin so much. I always expected us to have a family together one day. That would just be so much easier and so much earlier than I had anticipated," Spears writes of the pregnancy in her book. But Justin definitely wasn't happy. He said we weren't ready to have a baby in our lives and that we were too young. So, what do you want to go first? Or want me to go first?
You can go.
So, when the news broke, this was so crazy. Because I don't know, I just didn't think that. And there's a lot of thoughts. I think I'll try to go through everything quickly but precisely. A lot of people a lot of pro aborts are like, well, this was probably the best thing for them. She was able to be successful in her career. This was at the beginning of her career. A lot of people their idea or image was, well, look at her now. Like, she would not be having a baby that young, blah, blah, blah. And the reality is, it doesn't end your career. By the time you guys hear this, we'll have a blog post out by Caroline, who is a mother, and she wrote about this topic. And she listed a bunch of celebrities that have children and are still very successful. And, the reality is, and this is just the reality, this is the truth, Britney Spears and at that time especially, she had every resource available in the world. There are women who... What'd you say?
I said totally.
Yeah. There are women who could lose their housing or could lose a lot of things that are struggling. Britney Spears could have done perfectly fine. Nothing. I don't. Obviously, there would be a year or two where she had to heal and recover. Actually, she should probably heal and recover. I was gonna say she might not have to, but she probably should. A year or two, give your body some time. Beyonce, perfect example. Beyonce was every single time she's back out there doing her thing. So it's not the end of the world. That was one thing. Second thing is the whole Justin Timberlake of it all. Obviously, I don't know about you, but I've been done with Justin Timberlake for a while. Cry Me a River, I will say, is a song that I have on my playlist that I really do enjoy that probably won't take off. But I do listen to it differently because, so in the music video, for those who don't know, there's a woman in there, and it's implied that she cheated on the person saying it was Justin Timberlake, and they made the character look like Britney Spears. Cry Me a River came out after supposedly this abortion would have happened. So it's kind of like he's acting like a victim and everything when he, is so negative and tell her don't do it. Also, so let me talk about that aspect first, and then I'll talk about the other part. So I think that, ladies, this is a reminder that sex is not just something you do, haha. Right. It's very serious, and the person you have sex with matters. The person you have sex with is not to be played with. It is not a joke. The person you have sex with matters. We have got to do better, not victim blaming at all. And you know what? And I wouldn't even really say she's a victim. Nobody's a victim in this situation except for the baby. But he does need to take some responsibility. And we as women need to take responsibility when we are with men who are so low life, loser, irresponsible, lazy. I don't know the right words to describe men who would want to kill their own children, but murderers, I don't know. We need to take responsibility that we're not having sex with these men. We have to do that. And a statistic I posted on our Instagram, 48% of women who've had abortions said they would not have if they had support from their partner. Live Actors posted that 64% of women said they would not have abortions if they had support from a partner, a family member, their job, and things like that. So support is a huge role, and I think that's real. I know a lot of times you want to be like, well, any woman can do it. Just go, girl. And I do believe that. But the reality is, it is difficult.
Right.
by yourself. That is a truth. I think we should be able to face that head on and be honest about it. A lot of women would not have made decisions. They would have made better decisions if they did have that support. So it is very important, women, when you are sleeping with someone, first it's best with a marriage. But you know, even if you look at all the statistics, there's still a lot of married women still go to abortion clinics. My point is though,
Yeah.
that it does absolutely matter. You are sleeping with men of virtue. So that's one aspect. And the last one, everybody has been playing the song. I'm not gonna play it because it'll make me cry. Every time. And that in that video, at the end, there's a part where the protagonist is holding a baby in a hospital. And this is actually, you know, the timeline, this came after she would have had the said abortion. If you listen to the lyrics with this context, I mean, tears. It's sad. Like, I'm not going to play it. I'll link it so you guys can hear it. Absolutely sad. Devastating. And I don't know. We don't know what's going on with her. We know she's not well. I think any person with any type of empathy can tell she's not well. I don't want to say this is directly the result of, but I think things like this, like, people don't understand. Abortions are not just a cute little dentist thing you do and then you go home. Abortions are serious. They can have lasting effects mentally on you. I mean, it is not something to take lightly. It's not something that's done lightly. Even if you think that, oh, it's just something I did, when you come to the reality of what has happened, it can really affect your brain. It can affect you mentally. Now, we also know that she has been on a lot of drugs that she probably didn't need at the beginning. Now, I don't know. But at the beginning, we can say she probably didn't need all those drugs. So I'm sure that had something to do with it. But I do think that coming to that realization, and then she had to express this to the writer. Because obviously, we know she didn't write this book. Like, let's be honest. She had to express it to the ghostwriter. So that probably bringing all that back up. Like, oh, so many things. And then remember, she just had she said she just had a miscarriage recently, a couple months ago. Like, it's all just so sad watching this, watching all this unfold, because I think that normally when we see people, now I'm kind of switching topics, but then I'll get back to this. When we see people who are in what it appears Britney Spears' state is in, we don't normally see them with such a huge platform, with all this money, with decent clothes. I was going to say her hair, I wouldn't say her hair is kept. You can see her tracks sometimes. But my point is, we're not used to seeing them in the environment we see her in. So it's very jarring. Like the way she's acting. It's all just so sad. And thinking, and sometimes people post clips, because I would call myself a Britney Spears stan. Like, more than a fan. Do you know what stan, when someone's a stan? Do you know? Okay.
No.
All right, so really quick. Eminem has a song called Stan, and it's about this guy, an obsessive fan, like someone who's like, I love, like, that's more than a fan. A stan is more than a fan. So I would say I'm a Britney Spears stan. So, like, it's really, like, sometimes I, like, look at old videos. It's just so crazy to see how that a person can change like that. And then it almost appears that they don't want to get better. And I think that's kind of hard to watch. It's easier because it's a celebrity, so it's kind of further from us. But it's still kind of hard to watch, because, I mean, I don't know. That has nothing to do with the topic, but I had to get it off my chest. Like, I'm so concerned. Like, I'm so concerned.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on the Justin Timberlake and Britney's of it all?
I was thinking very similar things along, your line. I have a lot of different kind of ways that my brain is going. First and foremost, I'm going to piggyback off of what you said about how people might be thinking, well, yes, like, she's successful. Of course, you have to make quote unquote sacrifices for that success. You kind of towed the line that was really interesting by saying, is the abortion correlated to her success? Or is the abortion correlated to her drug abuse, mental health issues, domestic violence experiences, depression, suicidal thoughts? I mean, we know that abortion can result in some of these really, really life-shattering mental health issues. I wonder, I mean, so that would be my response to somebody saying, like, yeah, well, she needed it for her career. Another thing that I would say in response to that is that's not what they said in the book. The book does not say, well,
Right.
look, like, it's not going to be good financially. It's not going to be good for, like, our look. It's merely like he didn't want to be a father. That's all that they talk about. Maybe there was more to the story, but you're right. Like, when we do enter these relationships with guys, would we really be okay with them being a potential father? I
And
mean, for
so
most women,
sorry.
probably not.
So sorry. I really want to like cut you off for 1 second because I want to say piggyback off what you said.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. It doesn't say that, oh, she needed it for her career. This is what she says. And I meant to include this in the snippet. It says, to this day, it's one of the most agonizing things I have ever experienced in
Yes.
my life.
Yes. And she even writes, if it had been up to me alone, I never would have done it. And
So
yet
that,
Justin was so sure that he didn't want to be a father. Like, this just like reminds me that, like, abortion really does not benefit women. It benefits abusive men. It benefits the patriarchy. It benefits capital. Like, it benefits things that, like, the left really kind of despises. Men, like abusive men, violent men, power, you know, capitalism, systematic racism. Like, these are things that abortion has actually played a huge role in promoting. Not that I'm against, like, capitalism,
yeah.
but
But
it's just
no, like,
so ironic to me.
no, you're making a very valid point. And to talk about the capitalism part, because I'm sure someone's gonna like be like, "What?" Well, that's the reality. Just like how OnlyFans is only exists because of capitalism. That's the reality. Not anti-capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
Join a Patreon. I'm not anti-capitalism. You know, like, hello,
Yeah.
buy my jewelry. But the fact of the matter is, no system is perfect. These
Right.
things are fostering because of that. The
Right.
abortion, Powell calls it the abortion industrial complex is a real
Complex.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
There are people, companies, Planned Parenthood and other private abortion facilities that get paid for dead bodies. That's a real thing. And it is peculiar for people on the
Yeah, it
left
is.
to be so pro this. And sorry to cut you off and then you can go back, but
No,
I
no,
just want
no,
to say another
no.
thing. That's also why, like, I think we should be honest about Britney is not the example of this because she had all the resources in the world. We can be honest about how it
Yes.
is hard for some people to be in this situation. We can
Like,
be
even
honest
if
about
you
that.
have every blessing you could want, the
Yeah.
mental hurdle that it takes to say yes to life is real.
Yeah.
Like, throwing money, and that's another thing. Throwing money, I think the pro-life movement thinks that throwing money at this will solve it, right? Because, like, we see the statistics. If women had more financial support, most women would not have chosen abortion. Okay, that's great and that's true. But what about that mental hurdle for the woman that does have everything she could need, maybe even the married woman?
Mm-hmm.
They can't get over that mental hurdle. That's a much more difficult question to ask ourselves. And I think we're kind of running from it.
I agree. And I think that's we have to be more honest with ourselves if we're like our goal is to save babies and to help moms. That's the goal. At least that's the pro-life goal of those other girls. And we
Yeah.
have to be honest with ourselves. What are some things that we need to do? What are some tactics? And we have such a bad culture of death, for lack of a better word, of society. Specifically children. I mean, we joke about, and, you know, I make the dark jokes too sometimes, but like the reality is like we have come so far from like the celebrating of children specifically, the celebrating the excitement of um the beauty of bringing a soul into the universe. I heard someone say that once and I just can't get over that. Like your love
Yes.
you loving someone, I'll use back to Britney and Justin. The fact that they loved each other, at least Britney loved him.
Yes.
And that's the other thing too. She says she loved him so much. I wonder if he actually loved her, but that's a whole nother story. Supposedly, their love was so strong, it caused these emotions to happen, that caused a physical reaction that brought a soul into our universe.
I know.
That is mind-blowing. The fact that people think that's a negative is so crazy to me. Like, your love for someone brings another human being into our universe to share the air, to share the space that you live in. How beautiful is that? But we have gone so far from that. The mental hurdles that you mentioned, career is a huge
fear, unwillingness.
Fear. Yeah. All of these things, we have to shift that. How do we shift that? I think one of the ways is just, so during this time also, this isn't on the docket, but I'll talk about it because it's really crazy to me, like the timing of this. Halle Bailey, who played the Little Mermaid, she is, there's pictures that went out, and it does appear as if she's pregnant. I hate doing that so much. I absolutely do. Like, it's hurting me to say this, but everyone is speculating, and like, it's part of the story, like part of the overall story. Halle, if you're not, I want you to know that I still love you, and I am so sorry for saying that you are. But it does appear as if she's pregnant. And on Twitter, oh, she's at the height of her career. I'm so tired of these men getting these girls at the height of their career. Oh, she's at the height. I can't believe she did all this negativity.
And then it's like, how could she be so stupid? How could he be so stupid?
Right.
It's like, what?
And she's in a loving relationship, and when she was married, but she's just in a loving commitment. It's not like she, went and had to a random bum. Everybody's acting like, oh, it was just one day. It's not even like that. She's in a loving relationship. Once again, it'd be better if they were married, but it's not like, how could she be so? She's at the height of her career, all this stuff, and I just think it's so interesting that
these are feminists talking like this about another woman,
right? And it's just so interesting. It came out at the exact same time, the exact same day, around the same time this came out. And it just shows, like, we have fallen so far from this. Oh, it's beautiful that you have a child. It's great that you're having a child. And
how can I support you? How can I love you? What can I do? Can I throw you a baby shower?
Exactly. We've fallen so far. It's crazy to me. Like, almost, other than the pro-life people I follow, every comment was negative when I was reading, like, saying what people were saying.
That's horrible.
Horrible. I hope
totally a culture of death.
I hope she doesn't, because if she's not pregnant, this is awful, like, terrible for her. That could really hurt her feelings. But if she is pregnant, you also don't want that mentality. I mean, if she's pregnant, she does look pretty far along, so thankfully, she can't do anything. She has to stick with it. But, like, people are so, like, oh my goodness. It's just, like, how do we fix this? The only thing I can think of is, like, we talk about it and we try to counteract it.
Yeah.
And we make sure that we are keeping the culture of life. We are doing the things to do it, but, it's also kind of like, what else can we do to, like, change the narrative?
And I think the culture of death is so much more than just, like, killing people physically. It's negativity. The root of negativity is death. Like, death to happiness, death to joy, death to well-being. Negativity is rooted in, I mean, I guess there's, of course, like, legitimate negativity. Like, I am negative towards an institution for being genocidal. You see what I'm saying? But, like, just malicious negativity is rooted in death. So, like, creating a culture of life is creating a culture of joy, of goodness, not just talking about pregnancy, not just talking about sex, but you got a promotion. That's amazing. Like, how can I support you? Right? Like, my friend just turned 23. Like, that's incredible. Just, you got a new t-shirt. Like, show me that. I don't know, just in every way, just bringing about joy, because those little negative moments all contribute to a culture of death.
And to add to that, you're so right. It is more than just talking about that. And the idea of selfless versus selfish. We are in such a for lack of a better word, a self-love culture. And I don't want to make it seem like you have to hate yourself. I'm not saying that, because that goes back to the negativity. What I'm saying is, like, just this attitude of, well, Susie looked at me the wrong way. I am cutting her toxicity right now. Susie,
But that's toxic.
right. Susie said this one thing to me once. We've been best friends for 6 years. I'm done with Susie. I am protecting my peace.
I need good vibes.
She doesn't have good vibe. I'm protecting my peace. This whole, like, and, like, another thing that just irks me so much, and, you know, people are probably going to disagree with this, but I'm just going to say it. It's my platform. So I say what I want. No, but when people are like, when someone breaks up with someone, when both of their friends go, you did nothing wrong, you were perfect. And it's like,
yes.
Not be true. Like,
right.
Logically, like, that cannot be true. Yes. Do I want you to say that to me? Sure. I'm gonna be honest with you, yes. I'd rather you not tell me my flaws. But obviously I do have some flaws, because if I didn't have flaws, it would have worked out. That, or like,
self-awareness. Yes, self-awareness can create a culture of life.
Yes. Self-awareness is what that is. Self-awareness, that creates a culture of life, because you're not being, everything's not about yourself. So you're able to, when you bring another soul into the universe, you're able to care about that soul, and it doesn't feel like such a burden. Because if you are feeling all the time, I'm perfect, I've never made a mistake, then it'll be hard to be around. Babies are imperfect. It's going to be hard. Yeah. When you tell the baby to stop crying, the baby's not going to stop crying. I mean, that's just the, and it's not probably going to start crying louder. So, like, if you
tell me to stop crying, I'm going to cry louder.
Well, low key, yes. My point is, you're just like, if you can learn to be more self-aware, I guess that still feels like not the right word, but we'll use self-aware right now.
Tolerance, patience, all of that creates a culture of life.
Patience. Oh my goodness, yes. Patience. Once again, with a baby, you have to be patient. I mean, once again, ooh, the camera moved. Once again, you tell that baby to stop crying. I mean, you have to be patient by the time they stop crying.
For sure.
So these are things that I've been thinking about, like, what can we do to help foster this culture of life? Not just talking about it, not just saying we're pro-life. What are some other ways, you guys? Let us know in the comments, because we have got to get out of this. We're down bad right now, family. Like, we're down bad.
Whoops.
All right, so our next story is brought to you by Glamour. Tia Mowry clapped back about her post-divorce love life. Tia Mowry was forced to defend herself after talking about her post-divorce dating life on Twitter. They have the word X. I'm not calling Twitter X. The heated exchange began on Saturday when the natural hair mogul and Sister Sister star seemingly addressed public pressure to reconcile with her ex-husband, Corey Hardrick. Quote, "Just because the dating life is complicated doesn't mean I'm going to go back to something that no longer served me." I'll read that again. That doesn't mean I'm going to go back to something that no longer served me. That's like saying if I don't book an audition or a part right away, I'm going to give up on my dreams as an actor. Please just stop. I ain't that weak. Please move on, because I have. Thank you, next. End quote. She probably thought that was like, thank you. She probably typed, thank you, next. I got him.
Got him.
Married woman, would you like to go first?
I think this correlates a lot to what we were literally just talking about. The importance of tolerance, the importance of patience, the importance of self-awareness, and the lack thereof.
The lack thereof.
You know, like, this is exactly what we're talking about. Like, if others aren't serving me, then they need to be removed from my life. If that means my pregnancy isn't serving me, my baby will not serve me, to hell with it. If this man isn't serving me, to hell with it, right? that's not goodness. There's no beauty in that. You're not doing anything good for yourself. You are using others as a means to your own fulfillment, when in reality that fulfillment is superficial and short term. What do you think?
You just preach a sermon. You're so right. It is all connected.
Well connected.
The idea of it no longer served me is so crazy because, like, I'm not married. I haven't been married. I have been in what I believe was love.
Mm-hmm.
And I would imagine we're married. They were married for 15 years. There would be moments where that particular person and I would maybe not like each other. We'd still love each other because I don't believe you stop loving anyone, even when you break up, but that's a whole nother conversation. But there will be moments where we don't like each other. Like, I think that, like, that's just part of being married. And I just don't understand, personally, I don't understand it doesn't serve me anymore. And it could just be my personality. Like, I have friends in my, like, people who I still call friends that we don't really talk. Like, we're not, there's something wrong. But, like, if I were to see, I would be like, oh yeah, this was my, like, I don't get the just dropping people off type of thing.
Yeah.
I've only had one friendship actually end, ever. So, like, if I met up with someone that I knew in, like, the 3rd grade, I would say, oh yeah, we're friends. We're not close, but we're friends.
Right.
Like, this whole, it didn't serve me, it's just so, I mean, it goes back to, like, oh, go ahead.
Are other people in existence to serve you? Like,
yeah.
No.
No,
we're
not.
in existence
I'm you,
to yeah. Like, we're in existence to learn from each other and to grow together. Like, that's the essence of the human experience. And to say that others aren't serving you means that you're God, you're the sun, and the world revolves around you.
And you stick with it. You're so right. Like, you just stick with things. You made a commitment. They have 2 children. That's the other thing that's just so crazy to me. They have 2 children. They made a commitment. You stick with it.
What if their children stop serving her? What if that? What if, well, I mean, philosophically, if she's okay with dropping people because they're not serving her, would she be okay dropping her kids because they're not serving her? And I know there's definitely more to the story. For all we know, this could have been an abusive situation.
Right.
Like, I don't want to assume based on, like, this 3 sentences that their 15 years together are just selfish.
Can I say this really quick, though, Freeman?
Yes.
What is very confusing, I guess you could say, about their whole thing is, like, they did the whole, no, we just grew apart. We still love each other, respect each other. Neither one of them, at least they haven't told us, neither one of them cheated. Neither one of them, like, you know how sometimes celebrities will break up and then, like, 6 months later they're all out dating someone. That's nothing like that has happened. It never, like, it just came out. From what they have told us and from what we've seen, it really does seem like we just grew apart. It just didn't serve us our relationship didn't serve us anymore. And also, what does that even mean? I
know. I've never understood that.
What does it doesn't serve me mean? I can only speculate. I feel like she books a lot of jobs, and I feel like he didn't. Maybe, like, she wanted someone, and I'm saying she only because it seemed like she's, like, she seems to be the one that's the most active on social media. She seems to be the one that, like, talks more. But I mean, it could have been him too. Like, maybe they didn't like that. I don't know. Like, what does? And now that I'm saying, I'm like, I can't figure out what it doesn't serve me anymore. Like, you're no longer happy, but, like, I don't know. And I think
there are several days where I do not feel like, served, right? Like, in life, in work, in relationships, like,
and that's life.
But my question is, like, how can you say a relationship doesn't serve you when aren't you saying he isn't serving you? Like,
yes.
I think there's a difference in blame happening. Like, I appreciate that she's not blaming him. I think that's probably what many would consider a very mature approach.
Yeah.
But what you're really saying is he didn't serve you. Right?
Yes. And I just want to know, like, I wish when people say, we just grew apart, we still love each other, I wish they'd just be together. And then I want to know, like, what do you mean grew apart? Like, I just don't understand, how does it get there?
Okay, well, you know what? Here's my answer to that. I heard in some of my classes, they would talk about like this phenomenon where 15, 20 years, a couple is together, they've raised kids, they've done the whole they're a great team, and then the kids get out of the house and suddenly they're with a person that they haven't connected with on a real level in decades. And you realize you were only together because you were a great team, not because you were actually in love. So I wonder, when I hear stuff about people being together 15, 20 years in that range, sometimes I wonder if it's something like that, which is really wild to think about.
And I think that's also probably why you should marry your best friend. I think that if you have a genuine friendship, that makes a bigger difference. Sorry, James, my brother, just...
Hi, James.
Yeah, I guess you can say it's live. We're having a real, genuine, serious conversation.
About men.
About men. This is him, for those that don't know. I guess, I don't know, do we want to keep this in?
I haven't seen Freeman in a minute.
I have to keep this in.
You said don't or do?
Y'all do what you gotta do. Hey, those other girls. It's that other boy. Okay.
All right, bye-bye.
Okay.
Be single, ladies.
Yes.
But you'd have to obviously send your resume to me so I can...
Resume?
Yeah, send your resume. I want to see it. I want to know, what are you...
Like a dating resume or like a career resume?
Wait, say that again?
Like a dating resume or like a clear, like
dating,
like a work?
Dating resume.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. Because you're also campaigning to be my sister. Because I don't have a sister.
Campaigning?
So,
like for votes?
So I need a...
You're a candidate.
What?
Any woman that replies is a candidate.
Yes.
At best.
Yes. Anyway, we were saying, I was saying, so this is why I think it's important for you to marry your best friend. Because I do think, like, if you're marrying your best friend, it will be, once again, ups and downs. Like, I'm thinking of people who I consider my best friend. There's some times where I'm like, oh my gosh, we spent the whole weekend together. I cannot do this. I will talk next
I'm drained. No thanks.
Yes.
Till next time.
Exactly.
Well-being. Goodbye.
And that's okay. That's okay, because it's not like we're still friends, like,
Yeah.
So
you don't have to live together. That's the beauty of it.
Exactly. So my point is, I think that's why it's important to be with your best friend. So then when you do get into that stage, you're like, oh wow, you guys at least can play pickleball together, and then kind of rediscover that. Or my parents, once again, are really into movies. They love old movies too. They love cheesy Christian movies that are done really cheap, but they want to support the random church in Minnesota that made it. And they also love 1930 something movies. So like that's something they like discuss them and like do this whole thing. So, that's why it's important to That's why it's important to be with your best friend, so you aren't like that. But if you ended up not marrying your best friend, but you already married them, so you have to stick with it. And that's why counseling is important too. I can't tell you much advice after that if you didn't marry your best friend, because I don't know, but yeah. It's all connected. It's all connected. This self-love life leads into me being the center of everything. And I have to do this myself as just a person who, jokingly, like,
loves me.
Yeah. I mean, so Elise texted me, hey, one of our friends texted me and asked if I wanted a playlist of Taylor Swift songs that reminded her of me. And I said, oh yeah, of course, I love everything. I love anything centered around me. And like, that's a joke. Obviously, I don't really mean that. But I do, but I do have to, like, because that's my personality, I do have to, like, when things are serious and everything's said and done and like interacting with people, I do have to work on not making the center me. Because when you make the center you, there's no room for God. There's no room for others. Yeah. There's no room for helping people. There's no room for being a good friend. A perfect example is something that I work on a lot, especially as someone who I do like to talk a lot, especially when I'm in groups, is making sure I'm not I'm not taking over the conversation.
Dominating the conversation, yeah.
And that's something that I have struggled, especially when I was younger. But tiny things like that. And like, the more I work on letting other people talk, the more I work on, oh, how was your day? Back to somebody, the more you get to know people, the more you can be a better friend, the more you can be just a better human, I will say part of my problem is I do end up with lots of introverted friends, and they typically just let you talk. So
yes, I've had that. And I had one girl who like never had anything going on, and like I would literally spend our friendship, like, I felt bad. It was in high school, like, just dealing with my problems. And then eventually she was like, you're selfish. I never want to talk to you again. And that actually always stuck with me because I loved her so much. But you're right. Like, people are so complex and you never know what they're thinking.
Yeah.
Especially introverts.
Yeah. So we really
always try to be generous.
Yes. I'm like in one or two friend groups with only introverts. I'm the only extrovert in the friend groups. And I have to consciously, you can tell us about your day now, because at the end of the day, everybody wants to do, I'm sure they do, but like, introverts just don't want to talk as much. I can't relate to that at all, obviously, but some people don't. So I just think that we cannot continue to do this, like, me-centered world is going to collapse. And that is what we have right now. That is how we get to a billionaire pop star male singer telling his girlfriend that he supposedly loves. Now it's just
and took her virginity.
Right. And now it's just not the time, That is how we get to that. So
there's one last thing I was gonna say.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I'm forgetting it because I was just listening a lot.
Pop culture, me-centered, serve you, serve me.
Oh, I know. Okay, I'm gonna cut that.
Okay. I thought that was kind of funny, but go ahead. Okay.
And I think it's gonna start with Christians. Like, since we're all pulling at money and wealth and fame and power, and we're all pulling it from each other in this greedy grab of earthly desires and passions, it's going to take some group to not be offended when something is taken from us and to not want to take from others in order to serve ourselves. It's going to take a conscious effort to resist that culture and to lay down your sword and to resist, participating, because I imagine this like network of people pulling and pulling and pulling up from one another in order to feed themselves. And I think if one person in that network just kind of was neutral and was just non-inflammatory in any way, that would really have a ripple effect on that whole other network around it. I don't know if I'm making any sense. I don't know if this visual is making sense, but it's going to take us to not pull at others and not be offended when people pull at us.
No, Does that make sense? That makes a lot of sense, because especially as Christians, if we're supposed to be the light. We're supposed to be the ones that are doing the right thing in all of our friend groups, in all of our situations, when we're at work, when we are, out on the town. Like, we're supposed to be the ones that are doing the light, bringing the light. And I think, like, you're right, if we can work on not being if we can work on being servants, because at the end of the day, that's
rather than takers.
Yes. If we can be servers rather than takers, like that is, and people are going to see that and do it with joy. Do it with joy.
Right.
And we can do
because that's self-love. To provide for others, that's what's really fueling your spiritual well-being, and that's really what self-love is, the refueling of yourself.
That's good. That's good. Not this false stuff that people do. Not the she was mean to me. That's it. She's toxic. That's not feeling.
Right.
That's our show. I hope you enjoyed it. We talked a lot about the same thing over and over again because that's what's going on in America right now. That's what needs to be done. But it was all with pop culture lens. If you enjoyed that, make sure you rate, like, review, subscribe. For the Spotify question, let us know, what can we do to better foster a culture of life?
Yes.
In America. Like, what are we doing so that people's automatic reaction isn't, oh my God, I can't do it, you know?
Right.
And then another question I want to ask everybody is, how can we, like, what's a practical example of having a servant's heart, I guess?
Yeah, that's really nice.
What's a
that's
practical
really nice
example? And then I'll think of something else for the poll. So yeah, let us know in the comments on Spotify, wherever you're listening. Please, please, please leave a review. It really does help when you leave a review, especially with Apple Podcasts, because that helps push us up in the algorithm. So please do that and make sure you're sharing this with everybody. And I really hope you have a good day, night, evening, however, wherever you're listening to. Bye.
Bye.